Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'm happy you're here. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling good. I hope you are. Because today I am going to tell a story that we could make into a reality. So, first, good afternoon. My name is Skywalker Payne, and I am an oral storyteller. I'm also the founder of Vibrant Velvet Voice Productions. And today, I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story that I've been saying to people in conversations of my idea. But I'm not a politician, and I don't want to even talk about politicians. And thank you for coming, Lindsay. I'm going to tell a story today. And the story is called The 21st Century New Deal. And this is a story we're going to tell from the perspective of the future. So this story is being told to students in the 22nd century. And the teacher is saying, what happened at the second decade of the 21st century was totally unexpected. The world was moving well with technology, and businesses were booming, and the United States had an actor for president who was enriching many people. But suddenly, a pandemic happened. And these people who had all this technology did not know how to handle the pandemic, particularly in the United States. And it became an economic crisis. It became an economic crisis because people were reacting instead of reflecting and planning a solution to a situation that has happened many times before in history in many nations. We wonder sometimes what happened to civilizations. They could have been wiped out by a pandemic or the results of a pandemic, with them losing all of their ability to take care of themselves and their economy. The United States of America at the 21st century in 2020 was facing such a crisis. Now remember, this is a teacher talking to students, medical students, in the 22nd century. So somehow, after members of the government, their representatives, and the president spent a lot of money trying to stop the economy from totally failing, but not creating any structures or plans to give people more jobs or to improve the economy through jobs, helping improve people's health care. None of those things were brought up until it came slowly across social media and in letters to congressmen and senators and people running for office that it was time for the 21st century New Deal. And the New Deal for the 21st century would be built around strengthening and expanding the wellness, healthcare, and medical industries in the United States of America. Because at that time, with the pandemic going on now for several months in 2020, the United States was not making progress. It was continuing to have many, many thousands of people getting sick every day, continuing to have more deaths than hospitals were used to having to deal with, continuing to deal with unbelievable conspiracy theories and fears. The biggest fear being, what are we going to do when our money runs out, and how will we ever pay our medical bills? But hashtag 21st Century New Deal. And it was presented quite simply. The New Deal would be able to provide jobs for thousands of people, because the healthcare, wellness, and medical industry is vast. It includes jobs from what they call janitors and house cleaners to PhD doctors, scientists, and researchers on all levels. And in between are the jobs that could help people now who've been working at jobs, caring for people, getting paid $12 an hour or less. Or the people who are working in nursing homes as CNAs or health aides, not getting paid even that much money, and many of them dying or getting sick. So we create jobs, raise the minimum payment for anyone doing direct care of any other human being to $20 an hour, minimum, whether they're a CNA or a medical doctor. To give yourself to another being, to give them medicine, to take care of them, to help them take care of themselves because they cannot do it. That is the deepest work a person can do. And I know, because I was a registered nurse, and I have been recently, in the past few months, working on a day shift in an assisted living home with elderly women who cannot take care of themselves completely. And sometimes they can't remember what happened from one minute to the next. They need care. And this work is being done by many, many people. And they're not getting paid a decent living wage, because what also happened in the 2020 with this pandemic was people were not working, didn't have jobs, but all the prices for everything started to go up. So it was reaching a point in which things could go out of control until they decided, and until 21st Century New Deal hashtag became quite familiar. And people started talking, and they started saying, hey, we can do this. We can create more healthcare jobs. We can expand the concept of community health worker beyond the indigenous and native peoples communities to every community, particularly inner cities. We can train people in basic first aid and healthcare. And you can train people to improve their health with mentoring on the phone. I've done that, and it's working. So many solutions, but people need to get paid a decent wage, at least $20 an hour if you're taking care of somebody, or educating them and helping them improve their health. So that is the first level. Second thing of the 21st Century New Deal, as it's building jobs, it's improving the medical infrastructure. More facilities are needed, community health care centers, smaller hospitals, all around this country. So that's more jobs, building them, staffing them, planning them. And then, of course, I'm not going to talk about in this class, at the same time that this infrastructure and these things are being happening, there were great legislative changes made in healthcare out of need, because they began to realize there was no way the hospitals could continue to pursue debts from people. Many had died. Their families were decimated. There had to be something better. And some people call it Medicare for all. Some people call it universal health care. Most people call it caring for each other. Caring for not only your immediate family, but for your neighbor's family. And for the family that live in another state. Even for the family that doesn't vote like you. We don't need to be invaded by aliens to recognize that we're one family and we need to take care of each other. That became the language people heard as they saw hashtag 21st century New Deal. Now, the third thing that this New Deal did was it began the actual practice, the actual implementation of ways to give reparations, first to the black people who were descendants of the Africans who were stolen from Africa to make this country the wealthiest nation in the world. But the reparations could be extended through the 21st century New Deal to the indigenous people whose land we all stole, and to the Latinx people who have helped and continue to make sure we have food on our table by expanding health care opportunities to everyone along the whole spectrum, from being an individual attendant or CNA to being a medical doctor or a researcher. And we do this by, immediately they did it in 2020, by an unbelievably insightful, well-planned educational force that started in kindergarten and preschool and propelled people who were already in high school or college, or even people who needed new training to get trained in healthcare. And you can do it. And I can tell you this because I was over 50 years old. I was like 55 years old when I enrolled in nursing school. Fortunately, I looked young, but I was 55 years old when I enrolled in nursing school, and I graduated. And I worked as a nurse for over 10 years. And it was the most difficult job I ever had at times. But it also gave me lots of knowledge. And it gave me an in-depth, inside view of this medical industry. And as with any business at that time, in the 20th century, and I guess if you're listening to the story, you may have gotten confused because I've been telling the story as it would have been done in the year 22nd century. But I've also put myself in the story. So there's the potential for this story to become a reality. And of course, who am I but one of these black women on Facebook doing another live? But listen, these ideas we have sent out into the universe can bear fruit. We can change this reality and this experience. We begin by practicing gratitude for knowing we can change things. Then we watch our language and we start getting the courage to say, hey, you might not know me. I might not have all the degrees you think I should have, but I'm telling you this. If you want to save this economy, if you want to help black people and Native Americans and Latinx people, if you want to regenerate the economy, it's time for the 21st century New Deal built around strengthening and maintaining our wellness, health, and medical industry. Thank you for listening. And if you agree with this idea, write a letter to your congressman or your senator or someone who's running for office who you agree with. I'm going to do that, and I don't usually get political. But today I am, because the person I'm going to send this to is Dr. Al Gross, who is a doctor running for Senate in Alaska. And he talks about Medicare for all. And I think that's very important because we need progressive ideas and concepts. And because having worked in Alaska, we need Medicare for all. Because it's hard to get doctors to come to Alaska. Can you believe that? Thank you for listening. And please write your representatives if you like this job, or just start throwing out hashtag 21st Century New Deal. And I've also got below a link where if you'd like to stay in touch and get on my newsletter list, that would be great, because Vibrant Velvet Voice is doing a lot of different things, and you might be interested in some of them. Informative, entertaining, and imaginative, and always a good story. Thank you for listening, and wherever you are in the world, remember to breathe deeply, smile, and be grateful.